Super Bowl champ Shannon Sharpe's podcast, Club Shay Shay, is making headlines once more, but it was who was sitting across from him that caused the controversy. It wasn't who was sitting across from him that was causing the controversy. It was him, child. So his latest guest was actress and producer Amanda Seales, who hasn't necessarily been in the good graces of the black community for a while now, but people stood behind her after Sharpe blatantly dismissed and combated her life experiences throughout the 3-hour-long interview. Take a look.
I recently was diagnosed as someone who has autism spectrum disorder, which is very difficult to identify in black women because of racism.
Just because you see things differently, it doesn't mean that you're on the spectrum or you...
This isn't related to simply how I see things. This is related to how my brain functions.
Yes. But just because your brain functions differently from, say, mine.
Yes.
So you feel just because your brain functions differently that's what caused it, or there's a clinical diagnosis that
There are clinical diagnoses.
For you?
Yes, there are clinical diagnoses for autism, yes. So when I was at Disney,
yes,
and I was in the situation at Disney, I was there as the only black girl.
Okay.
And so I was called an N-word right there while I was there. And I was also bullied while I was there because I was told that you're only here because you're black. Does that suffice as racist to you, or would you want to call it something else? Is that just kids being mean?
The kids. So let me ask you a question. As a child, you never said anything derogatory? You was just this model citizen as a child?
Oh, child. Jesus, take the wheel. All right. So after the interview aired, she took to social media to thank everyone for their understanding and support, because people did rally behind her, because that was kind of a hard watch. I definitely watched. I don't know how Shannon Sharpe is getting me to watch 3-hour-long podcast episodes.
That was 3 hours long?
It was 3 hours and 10 minutes, I believe. But,
oh, my goodness.
Okay, as an avid Shay Shay Club watcher, you know, I was really, really shocked to see that. It honestly, it kind of rubbed me the wrong way, because you're inviting somebody onto your show, but you're going to dismiss their lived experience and kind of, like, dismiss what they're telling you.
Yeah.
And not believe them, like, but, I mean, at least he wasn't doing it behind her back.
I mean, true, but, like, people come on that show, you invite people on the show. He historically invites people on the show to talk about, you know, their life, open up about their childhood, past traumas, and things like that. So I'm like, she trusted you to have this safe space just like he's done for everyone else.
Exactly.
Because, you know, Cat Williams was on there, Mike Epps, Monique, everybody was on there, and we never saw pushback like that.
Well, the thing is, the things that she was talking about weren't like, they're not easy topics to discuss, especially when it's like personal. Like,
and they're not easy to digest either.
Exactly. So the fact that, you know, she was like, oh, I'm going to take this as a safe space and discuss these things, only to be kind of combated by someone who did not have those same experiences. Also, it just seemed like mansplaining like 3,000. Like, it was like to the next level. You're telling me about how my brain works?
Yeah.
That's so crazy.
Well, and it's crazy because that's not his brain.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, it's not...
I do feel like there was a lack of education there. I feel like it was coming from. I don't know if he was... it didn't sound like he was asking out of curiosity. It sounded like he was trying to, like, change her perspective or change her mind about something. But one, I really want to talk about why it's so important to be so dismissive of people's lived experiences, because I feel like once he does it on his platform, it makes it so much easier for other people to watch it and be like, exactly, I agree with him. Like, we're on the same plane. So they can start dismissing other people's experiences. And I'm guilty of it. I, in the past, have dismissed, like, my best friend at the time. We were in college, and we were at my other friend, like, my coworker's apartment or something. Yeah. And she had a bunch of friends over. Most of them were white. My friend was, like, a dark-skinned black man. And he was like, I felt like one of the girls there was like, I don't know. She was like, he's like, I've encountered this in my life. And, like, the way she was looking at me and the way she was acting around me, I felt like she may have been a little racist, or maybe she was scared of me or something. And I was like, what do you mean? Like, I'm there, like, and we're cool. Like, he was like, yeah, but there's, like, a colorism aspect. Yeah. Like, darker skinned people are seen as more aggressive. And I was like, I literally was like, what are you, shut up. Like, this sounds so silly to me. And, like, I look back on that years later, and I'm like, that's kind of wild. I was wild. Past Jamal, do better.
Well,
do
the
better,
thing is,
what are you thinking?
Yeah, I feel like no one's perfect. I feel like even I have had moments of that. But, like, to do it on your podcast that you know will air to millions of people,
Literally.
And it's going to be, you know, kind of criticized by anyone who watches it. And you invited this person on to have this conversation. Like, that's just so wild to me. And also, I agree with you. I do think that a lot of these things could have been mitigated by like some more education on the topics.
Yeah.
But that goes hand in hand with, this is your podcast. You invited this guest on. Read up on these
Exactly.
topics.
Read up.